This Arsenal season preview edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, contests and content, including our NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a lead pipe locking for parlay and player props. Go to parlayplay.io, use the promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus today. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. And we are carrying on and approaching the end of our season previews for all 20 teams in the Premier League. I think we've got 3 or 4 left to publish. We're recording this one on the Tuesday night before the Friday that the season starts. And yeah, we're going to have a look at Arsenal, have a look at their season prospects, make some picks, and find some FPL players to watch later on as well. Joining me, Baz, light at the end of the tunnel, Mr. Barry Penaluna. Hello, mate. What's happening?
Evening, yeah. It feels like the end is now. It'll be good to get into a normal routine of just our live streams and getting people interacting with us a bit more. But it's excitement for the season coming up. But I feel like I can't really focus on it until they get these season previews finished. So 3 to go. We're gonna chalk them off as quick as we can, and we'll be ready to focus on the real stuff.
In a way, it's kind of kept us occupied as well, though. Because I was like wanting to look at the weekend slate for picks, and I thought it was like good Christmas. I just didn't want to spoil myself though, so I was like, no, don't do it. I thought I'll look this afternoon. I thought, no, don't go on, just crack on, do some Arsenal stuff, do some Villa, West Ham clubs we've got left to do. So it's been good at filling my time up a little bit.
I mean, the good thing as well is we're going live tonight to do our £1 million show, which is our season long picks. Although by the time this episode goes out, we'll have already done that. So you'll be able to get that on podcasts or watch it again on YouTube. But doing all these season previews has given me a lot more ideas as to things I might like for season-long picks for that episode. So that's really helped there. Well,
it has, because you've been through all 20 teams. So you've got... And we've looked at... So you've looked at the top end of the market. You've looked at the bottom end of the market. You looked at match bets. You've looked at handicaps. You've looked at goal scorers. You've looked at forecasts. We've covered just about everything, and then everything within from a separate team point of view as well. So I fully agreed with that. It was I had 20 pages of notes ready to go when it was time to do the £1 million show. Like, if there are any Arsenal fans who've joined us to consume a bit of Arsenal content before the season for the first time, obviously wherever you found us this time, you'll find us again. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google. All the usual spots. Premier League Gambling Podcast is what you need to search for. On Twitter is SGPN Premier. And YouTube is at PremierLeaguePodcast.com. Give us a subscribe. And me and Basil throw out a couple of shows every week. We'll always preview the Premier League games and make some betting picks on all of them. We'll cover the Champions League, AFL stuff last weekend. Barry absolutely smashed the granny out with the AFL. Last weekend, you missed all sorts of ridiculous price winners. We don't guarantee them, but occasionally we do okay. International breaks, absolutely everything we cover as well, and a fair smattering of shenanigans thrown in as well. Arsenal, Baz, as is customary on these shows, how's your general Arsenal feelings down the years? Big fan?
I'm less of a fan after spending an afternoon with them on Sunday, didn't I? So I was down at the Community Shield. I got given tickets for that. I'd spent the afternoon surrounded by Arsenal fans. And as I say, it's nothing personal to Arsenal fans, but they annoyed the tits off me. But equally, if it was a ground full of Spurs fans, Villa fans, it didn't really matter. I just didn't want to hear fans of another club singing songs that I don't want to sing. So less enamoured with him. I mean, I was trying to think of games, big games.
There's been plenty. Like, I had to really cut down my shortlist of
and FA Cup finals. Obviously, the 4-4 more recently. Czech Teote is the one that stands out massively, doesn't it? Cheick Tioté with the equaliser in that 4-4. And going back not too far at all, was that one towards the end of the season, St James's Park, not last season, but the season before.
Yeah.
That was like a really big sort of demonstration of how far we'd come under Eddie Howe in such a short space of time. So yeah, we've got some memorable games there, some for the right reasons, some for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, the Arsenal generally have got on my week. I mean, we always caveat this. Any Arsenal fans were sitting now thinking, shut up, you idiot. We're not supposed to like each other. It's fine. Like you say, it's not personal. We expect you to say mean things about Newcastle as well. The cup final, 98 was horrible. I went to Arsenal it must have been around that time, or maybe a little bit later, sorry. We lost 3-2 on a Friday night. It's Highbury.
Lauren, was that not there with you?
Was that not? No, not that game. Because then I was trying to think. Me and you went on where was that match, Baz? It wasn't at Highbury, was it?
I've definitely done a Highbury Friday night game, so it might have been that I was at that very same game.
All right, well, you weren't with me. I went with Holmesy. Lauren Robert and Olivia Bernard scored. I think, who scored for? I can't remember now. Wasn't Vieira possibly? Arsenal won 3-2, but Holmesy get back 3-2 either way. It's 33-1, and he bought a cat with his winnings, right? Well, we were young men then. Alcohol had been taken. So, yeah, he bought a cat. We saw the worst... Who was that with when we saw them strippers, Baz? Those awful 20 pence in a pint pot strippers. That was you. And was that Arsenal?
Yeah, what was I think we might be in possibly the Flying Scotsman and round King's Cross, somewhere around King's Cross. I think the pub was called the Flying Scotsman. That was a low.
Yeah, that was grim, wasn't it?
That was proper spit and sawdust pub, like literally what a pub where it was sawdust on the floor, and all sorts of scenes on the stage in front of us. That was an experience.
But that Jack the Ripper doing the 5 pence, 50 pence with a boom, that'll never leave us. But I Holmesy bought this cat, and the cat only died about 2 years ago. Like, he got to a canny age, but the cat was called Berry after Highbury, because that's where he won the money to buy the cat. So their family cat for the last 20 years has been Highbury after that. Like, so yeah, and then we've spent a long time just avoiding not being in the same sphere as Arsenal. So they've got on our nerves a little bit less by virtue of us being rubbish. Mikel Arteta gets on my tits a bit, which is a shame because you feel like you should like him. He's apart from his match day antics, he's really quite a personable bloke. Interviews well, talks a lot of sense. People rate him highly. He's doing an incredible job, and he just acts like a knobhead, like a proper knobhead. We're going to inaugurate the tit list when we start the live shows, Baz, and I'd be surprised if Arteta doesn't make it on there. Like, if he just behaved himself a bit, maybe because he's still quite new to this, he might just behave himself a bit more soon.
Yeah, I agree. It does my head in, and did so from a distance in the Community Shield the other day. I mean, I come on to that in a bit. It took him 15 minutes to get booked in the Community Shield, and I sort of covered when we come to our picks as something I would like, so I'll mention it then. But I can see that being a regular occurrence this season with the way things are changing in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely. When we get to the numbers, we'll have a look at how Arsenal fared last year and how we expect them to go with some betting picks in the upcoming season. I'll tell you first about our Patreon. The Patreon, you will get exclusive contests, including the NFL Win Totals contest. That's got $1,000 first place prize. Pretty impressive. Besides the season-long contests, they also have weekly contests for the Patreons, plus the monthly SGP Stories podcast, which is completely ad-free, full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. The Discord channel is a belter. All of this and our continuous free content at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. So Arsenal finished second last year, 84 points. This year, with the books, they are 9-2 plus 450 to win the league. 1-3 minus 300 for a top 4 finish. 9-4 plus 225 to miss the top 4. 16-1 to finish in the bottom half. 7-1 to miss the top 6. And on the handicap, they are getting a 9-point head start. For large parts of last year, Arsenal led the league, I reckon, for 248 days last year, Baz, and then didn't win. 26 wins, 6 draws, 6 defeats. And I mean, there was a lot of people who were saying, oh, City will get them, City will get them, City will get them. And I thought that for a long time. And then I was trying to pinpoint the weekend, Baz, because I came on this show, on the review show, and I think Arsenal had gone odds on. And I thought, that's it. I think Arsenal are going to get this done now. And I sat here and said that. It was 22nd of January, I reckon, is that weekend when Arsenal looked like they were going to get the job done. They won 5 in a row to start off, then they lost at Man United, and then they just flew. When Man City dropped a few points, Arsenal won 13 and drew 2. And then that was up to the 22nd of January when they went odds on. And then 3 games without a win, which was the Everton defeat, which was a horror, Brentford, and then the defeat to Manchester City. Recovered to win 7 in a row, and then blew it. 3 draws in a row, and a second defeat to City where they got spanked. They lost 2 of the last 3, finished with a bit of a whimper. Eventually, they were beaten quite comfortably, Baz. So, I mean, last season, did you think they were ever going to get it done, or did you sort of turn like me and think, like I say, think they might win it?
I mean, I always felt City. I think I always felt City would do it because we've seen them do it before in terms of hitting that consistent run. But I think it did get to a point where I was very close to turning the thing. In fact, I think I can't remember what I did last week. I think I probably did get to a point where I thought Arsenal should win this now. And I probably just for a week or so before it turned round, just before they went on that little run, I probably did think Arsenal were going to win it.
Do you think City beat them, or do you think Arsenal threw it away?
I think City beat them.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible run of results from Arsenal compared to what an amazing run it was from Man City. I think that was a bigger thing. Yeah. I think the Man City winning streak was far more of a factor in it than Arsenal dropping some points, because you'd expect Arsenal to drop points across the season, and they did so in that spell. And
just looking at some of the games, they'll be disappointed. Obviously,
I see why people are going to say that, but I don't think Arsenal blew it. Not in the way I always think back to Newcastle. We blew it, didn't we? We blew it against Man United all those years ago.
Don't want to talk about it, but
I think City won it.
I'm just looking back. I thought I would have said that as well, but they're just looking back at the games that Arsenal dropped points. They'll be disappointed. That 1-0 at Everton, there was a home draw v Brentford. There was a home draw v Southampton when they were actually lucky to get the point. But what perversely, when they came up to
lost it by 5 points, Malcolm.
Yeah,
and also, as I said the other day on one of the other shows, they lost it by 5 points, and that was with City throwing away 5 points on the last 2 days of the season because they'd already won the league. So, had they have picked up the points at Everton or Bournemouth, City would have won those last 2 games and still won it. Do you know what I mean? I think City would have just done what they needed to do. So yeah, there's some poor results in there, but as I say, City would have got them either way.
So next season, my feeling about Arsenal, a huge part of this, in fact, nearly all of this, obviously they were great last year, and I watched them a few times, but a huge part of this is coming from the 2-0 win at Newcastle near the back end of the season, because I sat at that game and Arsenal were outstanding. And Newcastle had been great all year. We'd been great at home against the big clubs. We'd give Man City the fright of their lives. We battered them for 40, 50 minutes that day. We battered Manchester United. We'd battered Tottenham. Other teams no one was coming up and having any fun. Arsenal, I thought, would have PTSD after they'd got mauled the year before. And they controlled the game and played Newcastle off the park better than any other team I'd seen. They beat us more soundly than any other team had done last year. And I thought that this isn't a fluke. None of this is happening by accident. It wasn't just a Newcastle had a bad day. Arsenal were outstanding. And you could see the good players. Odegaard blew me, mate. Odegaard was brilliant that day. And I just thought, this isn't a flash in the pan. This isn't a team that are going to finish 7th next year. This is a team who are only going to go in one direction, and that's forward. So I just thought they're absolutely great. So I'm quite high on them again next year. I'm not sure they can catch City, but they're not going to go away there. I don't think they'll be dropping out the top 4. I'll not be taking any of those props. In terms of the bets, like patterns and trends, Baz. So they score plenty. 2.79 goals per game at home. Conceded a ton at home. 1.32 at home goals conceded per game. That's a lot. You have to score that many goals every week. That was part of the problem. When they're conceding 3 to Southampton and other teams were going there and scoring goals, that's too much for you to continually overcome. I think they scored late on against Bournemouth, wasn't it, when they won 3-2? Yeah. But so there was a lot of goals, over 3.5 cashed in 53% of the games, over 4.5 cashed in a third of the games, and both teams to score at home. I've just given you the home and away goals per game. 79% of the games, both teams to score landed yes at home. So they're absolutely trends. And I don't see any of that changing. They're not going to play a different way. I know they missed Gabriel, but this pattern went on all season. So I don't see that changing at all, really. Your feelings, Baz, about them this season?
I think there'll be a bit of regression, possibly. But I don't know. It might be me just hoping rather than anything else. I mean, they've thrown everything at it this season, haven't they? 200 million spent so far on Rice, Havertz and Timber. I mean, that's going to be 240 million because they've just signed David Raya or reached agreement with Raya tonight. So 240 million. Spent 170 million last season. So that's 400 million in 2 years. The progress is there to see from that. They obviously went close, but I mean, I'm intrigued. It's a shame we haven't got any Arsenal fan on for this one because I'm intrigued to know what Arsenal fans' expectations are and what would be a failure for this season. Because for me, if they don't win something this year, having spent £400 million, I think it's a failure. Because they have thrown everything at it, and I think they have to get a trophy. Whether that, I don't say they need to win the Premier League for it to be a success, but they need to.
Already won the Community Shield, Baz. So what you want about?
Give me that. I saw Arteta after the Community Shield talking about how they've proved they can compete with City and they've got the monkey off their back and all of this. And I get why you try and spin it that way, but at the end of the day, it was a draw in the 100th minute from a defected equaliser. It was hardly a statement win. It was a draw at the end of the day in the Premier League. Yeah. You haven't beat City still. But I just think it's a huge amount of money. They've got to win something this year, and I'm still not convinced they will. I mean,
I've got here, but for £200 million, I would want a little bit more than Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Timber. And Rice is good. Rice is fine. He's all right. He had a good end of the season. He's clearly quite a nice bloke and someone who would fit into the dressing room. He's going to be a good leader. But he's all right. But I mean, Newcastle picked up Bruno Guimaraes for 35, 38 mil, whatever it was. Is Declan Rice 3 times better than him? It's better in that position as well. Kai Havertz,
I mean,
he's a professional footballer, so he can't be. It annoys us. It's silly when people say he's shite, because they can't be, Baz. The professional footballers, the international footballers, they've scored at a high level. But he just looked like he just dangles his leg around and stuff, and I don't see him moving the needle at all. And I don't know much about Timber. And then a reserve goalie or a goalie who was as good as your other goalie. So now 250 mil on that, and I would want more for me money there, I think.
And it's not a go at Arsenal. How many times did we see people last year saying how well Eddie Howe had done, the success we'd had last year to get into the top 4, and how many responses come back saying, "Oh, you've just bought it." Nobody says that about Arsenal, do they? When Arsenal spend 400 million, if Arteta wins anything this year, it'll be lauded as a genius.
Yeah.
If Eddie Howe does it, it's money, and that's it. That would be not Eddie Howe, and it's a thing that, I mean, it's just a little bit annoying as a Newcastle fan. Probably the same for City fans. City will always get told they've bought it, but Liverpool are going out spending hundreds of millions. Man United are spending 200-300 million every year. Arsenal are doing it. Chelsea are to a ridiculous extent, and because it's different money from a different country, it's viewed differently. But I think, in terms of the additions, I mean, Rice, there's no doubt he's a good addition. He's a quality player, but I'm not. It's you talk about you don't think Havertz will move the needle. How much will Rice move the needle? Because there was nothing wrong with Xhaka, Partey, and Odegaard last year. That trio was a massive part of their success last season. And as I say, there's no doubt Rice is an upgrade on Xhaka. I'm not saying he isn't. But as a unit, those three were massive for them last year, and now you sort of broke that up. And he's not
Haaland. Do you know what I mean? What was Haaland costing? Harry Kane's the same price. They're people who are going to take it to the next level. A very good holding midfielder is great, but he's not going to do what Haaland or Harry Kane or someone like that will do for you.
As I say, I'm not talking Rice. I do think he's absolute quality.
He's outstanding player. Outstanding.
But as I said, they were absolutely solid in midfield. And Havertz, jury's out for me on Havertz. I think it's a good move for him. He needed to get away from Chelsea, but I just want to see how he's going to fit into that team and what role he's going to play. Because again, that Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka combination was outstanding. And where does Havertz break into that when they're all fit? Obviously, Jesus is injured at the moment. Timber will be a good signing. The Raya one just doesn't. I don't get it at all. But for me, I think the Havertz money in particular, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd rather have seen them buy another striker, because they've got Gabriel Jesus who does pick up injuries. He's injured for the start of the season. And if they paid 80 million for a decent striker, I think they'd have been looking a bit more comfortable than with Havertz. I don't think Havertz was something they needed with what they had last season. And I don't think Raya's anything they need as well. So to spend another 40 million there is a bit of an odd one.
One of the downsides with Havertz is that Dan Burn's going to kill him as well. So he might not last the year, because if he goes in the same postcode as Dan Burn, he's going to suffer at the hands of Big DB. So we need to make some picks, Baz, is what we need to do.
Do we need to give your second ad reads out first?
No, I'll do the picks first, Baz, then we'll do FPL. Come on, concentrate.
Ad reads to do, sorry.
Nah, we do betting, then... I mean, it's not like we've already done it 17 times, Baz, already. So I do not think they'll win the league. However, I 100% think they'll finish in the top three. That's because I've got Newcastle in second. That's why I say that. I can't take them on the handicap. I think City had points in hand last time. They get 9 points. I think City can cover that. It was hard to take a pick because I think they're going to go well. Then there's no value in... I didn't think they'll miss the top 4. I don't think they'll miss the top 6. There's no point backing them to make the top 4 at 1 to 3. And then there's no match bets I fancy, because I think they're going to be up there. So it's not like I could take them to finish below Chelsea or below Liverpool, because I don't think they will. I did find one though, Baz. It's in the goal scoring market. So this is the team to score the most goals in the league. They scored 6 fewer goals than Manchester City last year. Which isn't that many. Arsenal are very capable of bullying bad teams at home. I mean, we saw Liverpool knocked up a 9 and a 7 last year against Man United and Bournemouth. So that the price is 5 to 1. So 5 to 1 for them to close that gap. We saw Man City at the weekend. They're not prolific. They might even play a little bit more possession-based, Manchester City. Do you know what I mean? They don't always going to go out and smash teams like. So I think Arsenal could get amongst... Well, they scored a lot of goals. I don't see, as I said earlier, how they play is going to change. There was a lot of, say, over 3.5, over 4.5. There was goals in all their games. They concede goals, which means they're going to have to go out and score them. 5 to 1, Baz, for them to close that gap. And then in their top scorer market, really, as we've said a few times over this series, is you need opportunity. Now, Jesus to start the season injured. He's the 6 to 4 favourite. Martinelli's dead flaky at 9 to 2. Havertz is shite at 5 to 1, which leaves Bukayo Saka at 11 to 4. In opportunities, one thing he's going to start every week. He's going to play every week. He's amongst the goals. He's a very, very good player. I'd feel better about him if he could get on penalties and when on them, kick them in the goal, because he had many issues with that last season. But I think Saka's he's second favourite, and with Jesus injured, I think Saka can go well at 11-4. So they'd be my 2 picks, Pat.
I think Saka will be on penalties this season.
He kept missing them, didn't he?
He'll start the season as penalty taker, I reckon.
Well, there you go. That's even better then.
I mean, you picked one of my picks there straight away, so I'll jump in with that first. It was the positive pick before the negative pick I've got for Arsenal. So positive for me was also Saka to be top scorer for Arsenal at 11-4 plus 275. He got 14 last season. He was only 1 behind Odegaard and Martinelli, and he got 3 more than Jesus last year. Jesus, as you say, starts the year injured. I think Saka will be on pens, and I think 11-4 looks good. I thought he looked really good, really dangerous all day on Sunday as well. This is what I was talking about Arteta. I'd love to be able to get a bet on how many yellow cards Arteta picks up this season, because there is a big clampdown on the behaviour of managers on the touchline. And as I say, it took him 15 minutes on Sunday. And then I saw the 4th official was in his ear warning him over and over again because he didn't change.
Well, what's the point of that?
I know, but I think they'll make an example. I've seen a thing from Gary Neville today saying he'd been speaking to a non-league manager who had said they'd been called to a meeting by the FA to explain the big clampdown, and it was pretty much said that it was all brought about as a result of Arteta's behaviour last season. I mean, there are which makes sense. He stands out. I mean, Klopp's just as bad, to be fair. I mean, they brought in other changes. Have you seen? You can now only have 1 person on the touchline.
Yeah,
you can't have 2.
Yeah, that's the mad dog rule, isn't it?
That's Newcastle. Yeah, because Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall are always there as a pair. And that one doesn't make any sense to me, because that's a coach's job, isn't it? Like
it's not affecting anything at all.
You're paid to stand and discuss and come up with an idea. Like, it doesn't matter if there's 2 or 3 of you. You're all coaches of the same team. I don't know. That one's a bit bizarre, but definitely that's a result of us, I suspect. I'm a bit lower on Arsenal. I think I don't see them getting as close to City this year. They could very easily finish second this year, but like you can't back them to finish in the top 4. You can't back them to finish above anyone because you're not getting any really good prices. I just think the top 4 race is wide open, and I think Arsenal could slip out of it.
Okay.
I just think it's not unfeasible. I see them finishing behind City, so then you're looking for 3 of Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, Villa, maybe even Chelsea. And 9-4 for them to finish out the top 4 plus 225. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm fishing around for a pick here with this one because there wasn't a lot that jumps off. So it's not something I'm going to be putting my money on, but I think there's a chance. I think the top 4 race is wide open, and Arsenal could slip out of it. I think they'll drop back a little bit into the pack, and I think other teams will improve.
So you going to miss top 4 at 9-4, yeah?
Top 4, missed top 4, 9-4, but I've also got Saka to be top scorer at 11-4 as well. Okay,
we're going to have a whiz through some FPL players to watch once I tell you about Parlay Play, our new sponsor here. Parlay Play, it's a great way to get down on your favourite parlay player props. NFL season is right around the corner. Parlay Play will have all your favourite props. Parlay Play is available in a ton of states, including California and Texas. Plus, our good friends up north, Parlay Play is available in a bunch of provinces in Canada. Sign up with our code. You'll get a sweet bonus to get started. A Parlay Play that we like is Man City to win the league, and Sheffield United to finish bottom is 9-2. Head over to parlayplay.io. Use the promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's parlayplay.io, promo code SGP. So we've got a fantasy listener league. Any Arsenal fans want to jump in and have a game? We've got some money up for grabs, 150 quid. We've got some merch from the store. We've got the Egg in a Cup Cup. The code you need is CVVQAB. That is Campbell, Vieira, Quinn, Anelka, Bergkamp. I'm just throwing Quinn in for everyone now. I'm sure, didn't Niall Quinn played for Arsenal, didn't he?
Sure he did.
Well, yeah, he must have done. Throw Sal Campbell in there as well. I was a man of a certain age there. Vieira, Anelka and Bergkamp. CVVQAB. Baz, you're the FPL expert. I think a lot of people are saying you must have 3 Arsenal players, but which 3?
I haven't got 3 Arsenal players at the moment. But yeah, I can be a lot more positive about Arsenal from an FPL point of view. I mean, Saka has been on my side from day one. He'll definitely remain there. I think 14 goals and 12 assists last season. It was only Salah who had more goal contributions from midfield last year. He wasn't even the highest scoring Arsenal player last year, though. Odegaard had 212 points, Saka 202, and Martinelli 198. So Saka and Odegaard are both at 8.5 million. Martinelli's at 8 million. Realistically, any of those 3 are good picks from the off, and maybe even 2 of them. They do look to have a favourable start. They've got good fixtures to start the season. So doubling up on their attacking options isn't a bad shout, really. I was sort of tinkering around with starting Jesus when I've done my first draft. I think him and Saka would have been a good way to start. Obviously, he's not going to be fit now. So Jesus will come out for me. Whether I replace him with another Arsenal asset is questionable at this stage. I mean, at the other end, it's Ben White and Gabriel who appealed. But White got 156 points last year, Gabriel 146. So there wasn't much between them. Both of them missed a little bit of time during the season. White's at 5.5 million. Gabriel's 500,000 cheaper at 5 million. So I think Gabriel for me would offer a little bit of better value. Save the 500,000, spend it somewhere else. But for me at the minute, Saka is definitely in. As I say, you can't put anyone off Odegaard or Martinelli. And I probably will start the season with Gabriel in my team as well. So Saka and Gabriel for me.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've got 3 Arsenal in, Baz, but I've got 2 Arsenal defenders. And having made these notes and said I think they're going to concede goals and going through the clean sheet numbers, I might have to call an audible on that one and ditch one of them. I've got Gabriel and Saliba in. But if there's not going to be many clean sheets kicking around, they're not like sort of goal scoring centre-halves in the traditional sense. So my third one is Saka. So if I ditch one of those defenders and maybe spend the money on an attacking Arsenal player, other than that, there's not much around really. You've absolutely correctly highlighted the players. Be interesting to see what Timber contributes going forward. Don't know if he's an attacking fullback. I think I had high hopes for Tierney in that sense. Arsenal fans didn't really pay off. So yeah, I think I'll ditch one of those Arsenal defenders. But Saka is the one absolutely nailed on for me at the moment. And I think, Baz, that might just about be Arsenal covered. Like I said at the top, if you've enjoyed listening to us and you want to listen to our pick shows, come and find us in all the usual places at the Premier League Gambling Podcast. The fantasy code is CVVQAB. Come and have a go. Baz, anything else to on Arsenal before we sign off?
No, nothing from me. That's all for now. Just as you say, make sure you're subscribing. Hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And get subscribing and watch the regular season shows. Yeah, the £1 Million show will be out by the time you've heard this, so go and seek it out. We'll give all our futures picks, and then the main pick show will be live on Wednesday night if you can join us, or you find it as a podcast, and you'll get all our weekend picks in the Premier League. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate it. 3 days to go till the Prem, Baz. It's exciting. We'll see you down the road.